Hey guys, Charles here from Florida Content Creations. In this video, I'm going to go over all the procedures for flying for us and some of the key terms that we use to describe certain shots that we need. So the first thing I want to talk about is your project document. You'll get a document and a map of the project prior to shooting. This document, it's going to have every detail you could possibly need. Here is an example here of a Miami Beach project which I am currently shooting myself, which I'm going to use as an example. So all the coverage areas and points of interest will be marked, and you can read the notes on what types of shots we need. The biggest decision you will have is where to launch from. It's best if you pick a spot that allows you to shoot the entire coverage area from one location. I cannot stress this enough about finding a good launch spot. It's the biggest decision you're going to make all day, and it will decide whether the shoot is enjoyable for you or kind of a pain. The key is you don't want to be right in the middle of a congested area. You usually want to be on the outside areas. The key is having direct line of sight. So you want to be able to see out as far as possible. The beach is a great spot. These drones we're using, especially Mavic Pros, they have incredible range. So if you have no obstructions, it's really easy to get the whole coverage area from one location. Alright guys, so this is an example of a project document and map you're going to get. This is of Miami Beach. For starters, let's look at the title. This is when you go to name the files, this is the file name right here. You want to name all the files with that. It's got the location, it's got the project number, and it's got your name. Okay, so that's real important when you go to submit the files that you have that the files are named exactly with that in the file name. Alright, so this is all of Miami Beach, and this is a good example project. The first thing you have to decide is where you're going to launch from. Specifically, where I'm launching from is right here. It's actually pretty interesting. This is a really big area, but from this location, there's a pier right here on this point. From this location, I can literally cover all of Miami Beach and everywhere I need from that location. So that allows me to, rather than this being an 8-hour shoot, I mean, this will actually only take me like 2 or 3 hours to do this whole thing. So that's really important. The launch spot is really important. All right, so next I want to go through the details of this map. So the purple area, that is always the wide area coverage. Okay, wide area coverage means I don't have specific shots. It's just you want to burn 2 to 3 batteries flying all around this purple area to get, you know, as many shots as you can in those 2 and 3 batteries. This is really important because it'll allow you to get kind of, you know, like the lay of the land before you start doing these point of interest shots. Okay, now I'm going to go through the shots that I would do for this Miami Beach area in a minute, but first I want to keep going. Okay, the next thing is this green area. This is a specific flyby. Green is a flyby. Say I want a 100 feet flight. Real simple. It's just I'm just going to fly down the beach. Okay, so I will mark the areas where I need specific shots of you flying down the beach. If you look, I also put also have the altitude, 100 feet. You know, so all the details will be in these little tabs. Final thing are the point of interest, and that's these little pins on the map. And there'll be a, you know, an altitude, and then what we need, orbit. There's a big condo building right here that I need an orbit of. And then most of these are condos right in here. This is a marina that we need a shot of. And then out here, these are entire like islands of houses that we need an orbit of each one of these. Okay, and that's it. And now, believe it or not, from this location, I can get all this stuff very easily, very fast. I think this will only take me about half a day to get all of that really well. So, and this is one of the most congested areas out there. So remember, the key is to just go use this map as your guide and make sure you pick a really good launch area. And yeah, that's it. You'll get one of these before every shoot, and it will explain everything you need. All right, so now I'm going to talk about some key terms you will see in these project documents that you need to know what we mean when we say this. The first term is coverage. There are two types of coverage. There's wide area coverage and tight coverage. Wide area coverage means we need a lot of footage of a pretty wide area, say like 1 to 2 square miles, like all of Miami Beach would be a wide coverage area. When we say we need coverage, it means we don't have specific shots we need. We just want a lot of footage of all over the place without duplicating a shot. Most projects you are sent on will have some sort of wide area coverage in the project. To get wide area coverage, it usually takes between 1 to 3 full batteries. I always recommend getting wide area coverage first before you do any of the other specific shots we ask for. This is mainly because it's going to allow you to get kind of like the lay of the land of the entire area and get comfortable with the coverage area right from the start. So let's talk about altitude real quick. The lower, the better. You are usually flying under 200 feet. You know, like when flying down the coastline, the typical altitude is about 75 feet, which is about how high I am right now. You know, it just depends on the composition. You always want good composition, meaning an equal balance of like the water and the buildings and such. You know, we rarely are going to ever ask you to go over 200 feet. That's really important. Okay, so now I'm going to use Miami Beach as an example. Okay, this is a little walkthrough of what I would do if I was shooting wide area coverage of Miami Beach. So this is my area right up in here. My launch point is right here at this pier right here. The reason I picked that is because, you know, look where it sits. From right there, I can cover literally all of Miami Beach, even over here, the causeway, these islands, the marina, all down this Biscayne Bay, as well as all the way down the ocean front from one spot. So that is a really good example of the best possible launch place right there. So from right there, I can get every shot I need. So what I would do for wide area coverage is the first thing I would do is I'd fly down this entire ocean front from a couple different altitudes. I'd do one low, then one a little bit higher, maybe one at like 50 feet, then one maybe 150 feet. And then I'd do the same over here, all along this coastline. I would do point of interest. I'd really get some good coverage of this marina with all the boats. And then I would do point of interest flights of all these big condos right here on the water. Just do orbits. That's going to give you a lot of footage, a lot of really good footage of just the atmosphere of Miami. That's just what I would do personally. Then I would do like a low altitude flyby of this area here. This is kind of the main famous. It's called Deco Walk. All the famous Art Deco buildings. I would really get some good like low altitude in this area. And then let me see what else. Over here in Biscayne Bay, I would do point of interest flights on all these little islands with these really nice houses. I would definitely do a flyby down the causeway here with the cruise ships right in there. You know, I think like 2 to 3 batteries would cover just about all this, and it really would save a lot of time, like to where this shoot is actually, although it's in like a really heavily congested area, from right here, from this location, you know, I can get just about all of it in a really short amount of time. And my Mavic Pro, I mean, it would go anywhere because it's got such a great range, and I'm out here having line of sight the whole time. So anyways, that is an example of wide area coverage for Miami Beach, and yeah, that's a pretty straightforward shoot right there. All right, so the next term is tight coverage. This is the same concept as wide coverage, but it's in a smaller area or a specific building or resort or marina or something like that. A good example of a situation where we would need tight coverage is if it's a really nice beach resort or something like that. We want you to use 1 to 2 full batteries when you're doing tight coverage, and just fly around getting shots of every possible angle. So I'll use this resort right here as an example. Okay, so we did wide area coverage. Now I'm going to do an example of tight coverage. Tight coverage, in this example, we're going to use this resort right here in Boca Raton. It's right out here on this point, and there's a little pass that leads into Lake Boca Raton. So if you wanted to do tight coverage of this little inlet right here, this point with these 2 condos, this is what I would do. For starters, launch point would be probably over on this side of these jetties. I would do a orbit flight of this condo building, I would do an orbit of this condo building, and then I would do an orbit of both of them combined at a couple different altitudes. I would do a fly-up shot where I would start, actually I would do an elevator shots where I would start tight on the pool area, and then I would back up to show where it's located. I would do that from 2 or 3 different sides of each of these buildings. It's always good to like start on like the pool area and then back out so you can see exactly, you know, like simulated here on Google Earth, I would be like right here, and then I would just fly out to, you know, a higher altitude. You know, and then I would do some low altitude just clips either sideways or coming in across these pool areas, you know, like right above these trees, just to really get the atmosphere. I would also do the same on this side, you know, start like right here and then rise up, you know. Yeah, burn about one to 2 full batteries doing tight coverage of these 2. Yeah, and that would be that'd be a pretty simple little little shoot right there. Okay, moving on. The next term is POI, which stands for point of interest. We also use the term orbit for this as well. In these shots, you will use the intelligent flight mode in the DJI drones to fly a complete orbit or a circle around the property or area. The POI shots are sometimes of just one property, or sometimes it's of many property. Single POI means one property. Multi-POI means a larger group of buildings or a whole neighborhood or resort or something like that. These are really easy shots if you use the DJI point of interest mode. Make sure you change the speed of the orbit to full speed to save battery and hard drive space. You want to do that circle as quickly as possible. Orbit should be between 30 seconds and 2 minutes. If it's any longer, you need to change your shot. All right, this is a point of interest orbit style shot. As you can see, I chose the point of location as this house. Point of interest is this house. And I just had the drone fly in a perfect circle. Now I'm scrubbing through it real fast, so you know when played it looks like this, but you see how smooth that is? The drone is completely flying itself. I'm not doing anything, and it only takes about 30 to 40 seconds. And you just want to make sure you get a full, complete circle of whatever building or point of interest we are asking you to shoot. All right, here's another point of interest, but is a multi-area. Like for instance, we did a complete orbit of this little group, this little peninsula out here of all these houses. So it's not just one house; it's a bunch of houses. It's like an entire neighborhood. All right, so you know when you play it, it doesn't go this fast, but you can see the idea. Like the drone just flew a complete circle around that area. That's a multi-point of interest. Okay, next shot is an elevator shot. This is really simple. An elevator shot just means you start low and fly straight up or at an angle higher. The whole idea is to start on a specific property or detail and then go higher and wider to show where that property is and what's around it. All right, this right here is an example of an elevator shot. I'm going to speed up a little bit, but you see I started low on the house, and then all I did was I flew up high. Okay, so I started low and flew up high so I can see exactly where that house is. All right, that is an elevator shot right there. All right, here's another elevator shot. Started there, and I flew out to here. So same house, but you just start low and go high. So the point of the shot is you see the detail, and then you just back up and go high at the same time so you can see where that house sits. Also, when you're doing wide coverage of an area, it's also smart to do a few elevator shots just from different locations, as part of getting the wide area coverage. Okay, moving on. Next shot is called a flyby. We might also say flyover. Also, flyby is just what it sounds like. You're just flying by a specific area. The most common and easy type of flybys are usually like down the beach or bay or something like that, or a river or a canal. You'll be doing a lot of these. When you're doing flybys down the beach, always make sure you're catching some of the water in the shot also. It's all about good composition. A quick tip, a really great app for these shots is called Litchi. And there's a lot more out there, but it's the one I use a lot. It has a really great way to do waypoint shots, which is where you pick the start and the end point. And this is really great for long distance flybys. The range is phenomenal. I mean, I've gone over 3 miles before on one battery. So it's a really great tool. There's two types of flybys. There's long flybys and there's short flybys. A long flyby, long flyby can cover like 1 to 2 miles or as far as the drone will go. A short flyby is just like 100 yards or something like that. A good example of a short flyby is like if we need you to fly down a specific street or a canal or something, that would be a short flyby. All right, this is a flyby shot. This is over a mile, but you see how I kept perfect composition where I kept the Gulf in the foreground, and I'm able to catch the entire area. And this is a whole development, but that's a standard flyby shot right there. Pretty good. Here's another more extreme example of a flyby. This is over 4 miles of flights merged all the way together. And this is a little higher than I usually have you fly, but a lot of times, you get the idea. See how the drone stays in the same spot roughly? I flew down it over 3 miles in one flight. So that's a more extreme example of a flyby. Okay, so that's all the shots we asked for. There's one more term that you might see in the project documents, and that term is twilight. Twilight refers to the first or last hour of the day. It's the time of day where you can actually see the interior lighting from buildings. And sometimes we will request certain flights to be done specifically at this time. Now, there's only a 20-minute window when you can actually do these types of shots to get that perfect magical lighting. So you really only have one chance to get them. That time, it begins exactly 20 minutes after the sun has set. And now, so that time changes every day. So you can check on like weather.com each day to see the exact time the sun's going to set. This time is also known as magic hour in photography. Magic hour starts 20 minutes after the sun has gone down, and then it goes for another 20 minutes after that. So if the sun was supposed to set at 7 p.m., your flight would be from roughly 7:20 p.m. to 7:40 p.m. That's when you can get those just magical, beautiful twilight shots. It's like clockwork, and you will get some really, really cool shots this way. The key is to not start too late. It's better to start 5 minutes too early than 5 minutes too late, because once it gets too dark, the cameras can't handle the low light anymore. Okay, so now I'm going to talk some more about just key tips to make the most of your time and just make your life easier. For starters, always find a good area to launch from where there are no crowds and that you have a good line of sight for many, many miles, basically. These drones operate great from very far away as long as you have no obstructions in your way. So, and this, like I said, this can end up being the difference in being able to shoot projects in half the time if you can find a good launch spot that allows you to cover the whole shooting area from one location. That's the secret. Also, just try and avoid people as much as possible, just for safety reasons and just for your own sanity. People are always, they're very curious about these drones, and they're nice about it, but they'll want to ask you 50 questions, and it's just not something you want to do while you're trying to fly and operate. The next tip is to have a lot of batteries and a way to charge them on the go. If you have plenty of batteries, these projects are no problem. If you don't have a lot of batteries, it can be a big headache and not very enjoyable. Another tip I always say is start early in the morning. This is what I do. I mean, you'll find from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. there's usually nothing going on anywhere, and you can, getting there is really easy, and you can get great parking, and lots of times you can get all the shots you need in these 2 hours, or even complete the whole project in that amount of time. So, and then the final tip is just shoot more than less. You're already out there. It's a lot easier to get more footage than shooting less. If you're unsure about something, just do another flight and send all of that footage. We would much rather you use your best judgment than calling us in the middle of the shoot to explain something. We're not going to penalize you for using your own judgment and shooting more, but if you don't get the shot because you were confused, well, it's not good. Final thing is just try and have fun with it. You're going to be in some really cool areas, and make the most of it. Get some shots for your own portfolio. Try and make them really cool and cinematic, and we notice that type of thing when we get the results back, and that's what will get you booked more and more. The next thing is delivering the files to us. We use Dropbox. When you're done shooting, you need to submit the files via Dropbox and share the folder with the email address that I'll give you on each project. Before you send it, you must name the files a certain way. Each project will have a project number, which you will need to put in the file names. Also, you need to put the location where you were, like Miami Beach in this example, and also your name also. All right, so let's say these are the files that I want to submit. All right, I'm on a Mac, but all I'm going to do to rename all of them, I'm going to right click on them, hit rename 6 items, and just gonna paste. So this is my project name, location, and my name. And I just paste that in there, and I hit rename, and then all the files are renamed, and you just submit those to us. So it's really important that you do that. So let's see. As you can see, all the files are perfectly named. So that's exactly the way you want to name the files. All right, that's it, guys. If you have any questions, you can always call me, but best of luck, and we're excited to work with you.